Good evening, everybody. I'm just about to be joined by Mila from Cyros International, and we will be chatting all things donor related this evening. So hello to those who are joining now. I'm just waiting for Mila to join. We've just done a couple of articles together related to sperm donation, including how to pick a sperm donor and also how sperm banks or how Cyros International pick their donors. So there's lots that here we go, she's here. So I'm just going to join her in now. Okay, we'll be okay. Hello to those who are joining. Shouldn't be any second now. Also, I just wanted to say, if you have any questions whilst you're watching or listening, please ask away. That's what Mila's there for, and the same for me, having been in this situation. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you can't see me, can you?
Can't see you, it's frozen. Can everybody hear and see me? Yeah, it's frozen.
Yeah.
Those who are watching, would you mind telling me whether you can see me or whether Mila's frozen? Maybe I should try and add you again. I'm just gonna
let me
see what I can do. Okay. Hi everyone who's joined. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Just having a bit of an issue getting Mila back on. We couldn't hear her, so let me try again. Okay. I was just saying, if you've got any questions as we go along, please don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. So let's try again. Can't always rely on technology, can you? It's not letting me add her, so I'm just going to try again. Bear with us, apologies for this. In the meantime, I was just, oh, hi, that's better. Good evening, how are you?
I'm good, I guess
I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Can everyone who's watching or listening hear me and see me? If someone could tell me, that would be great. If not, I could restart it and maybe that will sort the problem out. The internet is okay here, so I'm not too sure what's going on. Can't do the technology. Let's try one more time. Eva can hear, okay. Let's try again. Thanks everyone for your patience. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you back. You can't see me, but I guess
we can see you now. We can see you now.
Okay.
I think we've cracked it. So thank you for everyone being so patient. How are you this evening?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yes, very well, thanks. You are a little bit quiet. Are you able to turn up the volume, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't have the microphone, but if you want me to add it, I can add it on.
Might be good. I'm struggling a little bit to hear you. I don't know about everyone else. So hello to everyone who's joining.
Sorry, everyone.
That's better. That's definitely better.
Okay, so is this better?
Better, yeah.
Okay.
So would you mind just introducing yourself to everyone,
yes.
and then we'll talk about the topics that we're gonna cover this evening.
Yes. So my name is Milagros Brette. I'm with Cyros International Sperm and Egg Bank in Aarhus, Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a clinic account manager, and I work with, among others, with the UK clinics. I have some other countries as well. For those of you who do not know Cyros, we are the largest sperm bank in the world, and we have been around for 30 years.
Long time.
A long time. Yeah. And we ship to over 100 countries in the world. So we have a lot of experience with the different legislations and requirements for the different countries.
And a lot of donors on your books as well.
And yeah, the largest selection of donors, which you can access free of charge on our website. So you can browse our website without having to pay to see the profiles. Among those, we have hundreds of UK compliant donors because, as I said, every country has different legislation. So I'll go into more detail about that later. But I think what I'd like to cover today are, well, what the situation is now with Corona. Obviously, it's on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
How Cryo selects the donors. What you have to have in mind when you select your donors, so what's important, especially in the UK context, but if you're thinking of getting treatment abroad, also what to remember.
Yeah.
And then what the process of ordering and how we work with the clinics, and also thinking ahead for future treatments and sibling treatments and all of that. So I guess we can cover a bit of that. And if you want to add on, please let me know, or we can take the questions as they come.
Yes, let's do that. So we'll start. And if anyone does have any questions for Mila as we go, or for me as someone who's used donor sperm, then please feel free to ask.
Okay, great. Yes.
So should we start with the current situation at the moment and how coronavirus is affecting things?
Yes. So I don't know if you've heard, but in Denmark, it's going quite well. The clinics have reopened in Denmark. I think it might give a little bit of hope to patients in the UK, where I know a lot of treatments are being postponed and cancelled, well, we are reopening in a very controlled way. Cyros has continued to remain open, and we are able to ship anywhere as long as the clinic is able to receive. So as soon as your clinic is ready to receive an order, we can make that happen. In terms of I think nobody knows in the UK what's going to happen. I guess at the end of May is what I've heard, but those are rumors. Nobody really knows. So you might know more about that.
Well, the HFEA have said that hopefully clinics will be able to reopen soon. No date yet.
No date.
There'll be stringent guidelines that they'll need to adhere to in order to.
Yes.
Which I presume is the same as Denmark in terms of
and that's
and stuff.
Yeah, that's what ESRA has also said. Clinics have to be following the national health recommendations about the corona safety, and I guess the guidelines listed in the letter from the HFEA are related to corona, how clinics can ensure patient safety. But yeah, from our side, we are ready as soon as the clinics are ready.
And of course, the donor selection process, as someone who's done it, can take a while in terms of making that decision. Obviously, there are lots of considerations. So now I presume is a good time to be, if you're going down that route, to be taking the time to browse and to look at the options and to work out who's the right donor match.
Exactly. That I think this is a perfect time to take all the time you need to choose the donor that feels right for you. I think everyone has a very different idea of what the right donor is for them, different criteria. And so this is a good time to start exploring that. And you might think that some things are the most important. When you start looking at the profiles, you realize that your wish list is nothing like you thought it would be, because it really has to feel good. And you have to feel that you're making the right choice. And that's, one of our advantages is that we have so many profiles to look for. And I can go more or less into who our donors are.
Just to that point that you just made. Also, if you're doing this as a couple, sometimes you can have differences of opinions in terms of your preferred donors as well.
Completely.
So that's another thing to take into the equation.
Yes.
What you both feel comfortable with, because it may not be the same person.
Exactly. And I would say it really depends what your situation, like you say, if you're in a couple, if you're a single mom to be, if you're in a same-sex relationship, and that usually changes a bit the criteria. We've seen that in many heterosexual couples, they choose, for example, a donor that looks like the man in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that's very important to some people. Other people might not have the same, preference. So it really takes time to start looking, and then take some time to think about it and see where your preference is. And this is a great time to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about Cryos and the profiles you have, and what the options are for people when they're making those initial choices or looking around.
Yeah. Well, we have a very selective process at Cryos. We accept only about 5 to 10% of the donor applicants that walk into the door. And our donors are men, healthy men from the ages of 18 to 45. 50% more or less are in a relationship. About 50% are students at the university, or have 50% have a full-time job or are self-employed. And I think the issue of compensation often comes up. They do get compensated. Yeah, they do get compensated. Donating is often a very they have to commit to a long-term donation period, one can say. And it's not just coming in and donating. It's also they have to go through many screening, blood tests, urine tests, interviews, counseling, and paperwork, and so it's very time consuming. And they do get compensated, but the amount of compensation is regulated by law. So they get only up to a certain amount. It's regulated by Danish legislation, and in the UK it's very specific what they can get. So we have our UK donors are compensated according to the UK guidelines. So so it's it's something that often comes up, but I have to say that it's the motivation is coming. You can see that it's coming from another place, because it's much more than they give them what they get in that compensation. And about 50% of them are also blood donors, and they don't get anything for that. So that speaks to their altruism, and they usually tell us that it's they have some story of infertility in the family, or they really want to give back in some way, and they find this a meaningful way to give back, and I think that's very important to mention.
And also good to know that kind of thing if you do want to know more about the donor, because the children in the future that you have with the donor may say, why do you think they became a donor? And so if you've got that kind of information, it might help with that process of telling your children if that's what you choose to do.
Exactly. And well, that takes me to how much information you want about the donors, because we have different profiles. We have very basic profiles that only give the physical characteristics of the donors. They say which educational level they have. They give you the height and weight, and eye color and hair color. Yeah. And for some people that's enough, and they don't want to know anything else. But we have also extended profiles, which are which give you a lot more information. They give you a lot of information about their family, their interests, their hobbies, what they were like as a child. They even write a letter to the parents to be. You can get a voice recording, you can get staff impressions, and an emotional evaluation.
And what about photos?
And pictures of them as children. And that's all included in that package.
Okay. And is that on a monthly subscription?
No, that's free of charge. So all of that you get for free.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so you get you go into our website, you create a profile, and you can browse all of that free of charge. And then we have donors that are golden donors, and we have photos of them, and those are behind a paid wall.
Okay.
So
What
those
do you mean by golden donors?
so because, well, we have to differentiate them, but we have those who have pictures, and those you have to pay for. It's the only thing we ask for payment on the website. Yeah.
And that's photos as an adult.
Yes. So that gives you a whole other dimension of information. And in the UK, the donors have to be ID release, we call them, so open or non-anonymous. Yeah. Which means that when the child turns 18, they can ask us, or in the UK, there's a registry for the identity of the donor. It's a choice. It's not, but that's compulsory in the UK if you're going to get treatment. So you have to only browse through the profiles that are ID release.
And that's if you're having treatment in the UK. So it could be different if you went abroad to have treatment, for example.
Exactly. So that's a very important parameter. Yeah. If you're going to be choosing a donor, you have to have in mind where you're going to get your treatment, because that could really define what kind of donor you're going to be able to use. And that's something, we can help with. We sit with a lot of information. Sometimes a clinic would not be able to tell you that, but we sit with so many clinics in so many countries that we could help you navigate some of those questions of what you can do in some places and not in others.
That's really helpful.
Yes.
Going back to your what you said about ID release donors. So does that mean that these donors have agreed to have contact with the child when they reach 18?
No, they have agreed to give their identity
to you.
Yes, and that we give it to any children born from the donation.
Okay.
Of course, we hope that they do have time, and by the time the children are 18, that they still want to meet them. But we can't force them to meet any of the children. But presumably, they did say yes because they're open to that idea. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And is there any, out of the profiles that you talked about and the different kinds of donors, would you say that there's one type that people tend to lean towards, whether that be non-ID release or ID release, or the ones with the adult photos or not, for example?
Yes. It's really determined by the country where you're getting treatment. So ID release is usually legislated, so you can't really choose that unless you're actively choosing to having treatment in another country. In Denmark, it's you can choose. So I think that's a very good thing. Parents have that possibility of choosing what they think it's best. So in terms of anonymity, and that's usually not, aside from Denmark, it's usually a non-question. Yeah. But in terms of basic profiles and extended profiles, I mean, the extended are...
Of course, yeah. It's a big decision, isn't it? So
yes, and I think people want to know more, even if they don't get to know who the donor is. They want to get more detail about who the person is and what motivated to donate, for example, like you said. And yeah, I mean, there's, for a lot of people, how they look as adults is important, but we see a lot of people choose just the regular extended profile. I think that's it's plenty of information, and you do get pictures as children, as babies, which gives a pretty good idea. Yeah.
And what about siblings? Because you mentioned that, and having enough sperm to have other rounds of treatment if you so wish.
Yeah. Before I get into that, I'd like to go over a little bit into the regulations in the UK.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So in the UK, we have a set of requirements for donors, and those legal requirements, we call them standards at Cryos. So when you are going to choose a donor, you have to choose a donor with UK standard. That means that that donor has been qualified to all the requirements in the UK.
Okay.
Aside from choosing ID release with UK standard, you also are required to purchase a family quota. Mm-hmm. We call that a quota reservation. And that is because in the UK, only 10 families can use the same donor. It's regulated by law. So we sell you a spot into those 10 families, so you can be sure to use that donor within those 10 families. Mm-hmm. And that's compulsory also in the UK. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that the clinics in the UK approve the donor before we can send it. So and it's in part because of this family quota. They want to make sure that it's within the limits and all that. So when we get an order for the UK, the process begins with us contacting your clinic and working with them to be able to send that order for you. So it's very important for UK orders that we get them ahead of time, not last minute. And in that way, you'll also avoid late order fees and all that. So do it with time, allow for us to work with the clinic, and then it gets shipped pretty quickly in 1 to 2 days as soon as the clinics say that it's okay to ship. So,
and does it depend on the clinic as to how many vials of sperm they require for each round of treatment?
We recommend, it's one vial per, we sell straws, not vials, but it's one straw per treatment, more or less. Usually a motility 10 is enough, but some clinics prefer motility 20. Should I explain what motility is?
Yes, please.
Yes.
And we also just had a question
yes.
as well, when we have a moment to ask, please.
So the straws that we sell, they're like these little straws, and they contain 0.5 milliliters of sperm. Within that volume there's different amounts of active sperm cells.
Okay.
So a motility 10 would be 10 million active sperm cells per milliliter. A motility 20 million active sperm. So the quality can really go up. So we have motility 5, 10, 20, and 30 plus. And some clinics might prefer motility 20, others motility 10 is enough, others motility 5, depending also on your treatment type. And they can probably give you advice on that. We recommend that you purchase more than you need, because you might need them for several treatment. It doesn't always work on the first try, unfortunately. And then if you want to have siblings in the future, it's also a good idea to purchase more and have them on a reservation that we keep at Cryos. And if you don't need them at the end, because the first 2 tries you were lucky, we can repurchase them from you at 75% of the price.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Do you? I believe that you offer some kind of family package. Is that right? If people want to buy, secure more for the future siblings.
No, but we encourage at the time that they choose the donor to already think ahead, because we don't. Yeah. Yes, we don't hold them aside.
Yeah, exactly. Which is so wise, and people, when they're starting out, may not necessarily consider that, because obviously the focus is
on the one treatment,
first child, exactly. Yes. the first treatment, and it could be a consideration for the future, and you wouldn't want to, if you wanted to pick the same donor again,
exactly,
it would be wise to have that discussion with you.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that they are volunteers, and they we can't force them to donate again if they decided to stop. Maybe their situation has changed. They're not interested anymore. So it's always a good idea to secure those.
Great.
Yes.
There's a couple of questions.
Yes.
Can you see them if you flick back up? Okay. So are the sperm sonora scanned for justice history panel?
full?
Can you see that question written down? From
Because I had trouble signing in, I have like a
Okay.
sign in
I'm
front
afraid
and
I
can't
don't
see.
understand that question. I'll repeat it again, but maybe if you wouldn't mind, the person who wrote it rephrasing it, please. Are the sperms sonora scanned for justice history panel? Oh, does that mean in terms of having background checks potentially?
Oh,
Criminal
we get a lot of that question. We don't, but we do conduct several interviews by different staff members and healthcare professionals and counselors at Cryos, and any red flags will cause the donor to be rejected into the program. So everything has to add up. And
exactly. So it's not just medical, it's very much psychological as well.
yeah, exactly. And I guess I didn't go into the whole procedure, but well, one thing I also wanted to mention was that regardless of which profile you choose, extended, basic, ID release or non-ID released, the screening is the same for all the donors. That doesn't limit the screening that we do. And it's not just, like you said, medical screening and psychological screening, but they have, there's so many cross-checks with our counselors that anything that would point out to something that doesn't match would raise up many questions. Yeah.
That makes complete sense. Thank you for answering that one. Someone said that they are doing ICSI and they've got one straw for more tries. That's good. And for ICSI, MOT5 is more than enough. For IVF, higher is better.
Yeah, I mean, for ICSI, they can work with MOT5.
Okay.
A lot of clinics prefer motility, higher motility, because they wash the straws, they remove the, Okay. So it really is up to the clinic to tell you what they prefer. But yeah, motility 5 for ICSI would be enough. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know. Someone has asked, how much sperm do you get per time? Only enough for one treatment.
So it's one straw. It's one straw per cycle should be enough. A lot of clinics I know in the UK offer a package for 3 treatments, and so it's a good idea to just buy the 3 straws already. But really, 1 straw per treatment is enough.
How long do you keep the straws for?
I don't understand. So
as in how long are they frozen at Cryos for when someone's doing?
We have them for a while.
Okay.
For a long time. There's some limits in the UK in terms of when they how long they can be kept at the clinic. So as soon as they enter the UK, that consent from the donor is worth for 10 years. So there are some limits that apply to that, but we can keep them for a while. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know. Someone has also just asked about thoughts on risk of contamination for potential gametes by COVID-19.
Yes. So we stopped donation as soon as we've been following the situation in China and in Italy and everything, and we've always had a risk assessment tool. So any donor that had traveled to affected areas would have been put in quarantine. And as soon as the situation arrived in Denmark, we stopped donations. So anything that we have on stock is from prior to the Corona era. So it's safe. And we haven't restarted the donations yet. So it's all safe to use.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any more questions at this point that you'd like to ask Mila? If you do, please type away. And was there anything else that you'd like to cover whilst we're talking?
Well, I wanted to mention a few things for Cryos. We do have a group on Facebook. It's called
Great.
Family Dreams. I don't know if people know it, but it's a very good group to, it's a closed group, and people can go in and ask questions to other people who have maybe had treatment at the same clinic, or their experience with different issues they encounter in their journeys. And it's a great a group. And we also have a newsletter and a blog, and we are, yeah, always happy to get your call, email, and give you a personalized have a personalized chat, so we can look into your specific situation, where you're going to get treatment, and how we can help. So give us a call if you need help with anything related to donor sperm, donor treatment. Yeah,
that's great. And having done it myself and been through that process, it's so important to have that personalized care.
Yes,
because it can be a very overwhelming and daunting experience. So
it is.
to have professionals, really kind of holding your hand and knowing that you can trust everything that's happening, with all of that background and all of that experience, is just so important.
Yeah, and again, the choice of a donor can be, like you say, overwhelming, because it's maybe not what you thought you would be doing, and it shouldn't be. And we want to help with that, and all of the other parts of that, the logistics, we'll take care of that. So yeah.
Do you offer any kind of help if people want to be matched with a donor?
We don't.
So would people, but people can probably, I guess, ask questions like, to a degree, I would presume, in terms of, I'm just starting to search, where shall I go?
Yeah, we have a lot of filters on the website.
Okay, that's good.
That you can use to more or less customize your search.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And they're so detailed, as you say.
It's very
they
detailed.
cover so much of what you'd be looking for.
Exactly.
It more or less would narrow down that search for you anyway, to give you your selection.
Yes, and we might in the future, I don't know, but right now we don't have that, but we have a very large selection, so you can use those filters to narrow it down.
Yeah.
And honestly, with the baby pictures and the profiles and all that you read about them, you do get quite a sense of who the person is, and what you prefer. Absolutely. So I encourage everyone to go in and start browsing, because a lot of people have compared it to a dating site.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I was doing it.
Yeah, and it really is. It really shouldn't have to be overwhelming. I think it's the more you do it, the more you get used to the idea. If you're having a bit of apprehension, and the more you browse, maybe you find your dream donor.
Yeah, I think also, again, just having done it personally, whether you're doing it on your own as a same-sex couple or as a heterosexual couple, may change your view on how you're doing it. So, for example, if you're doing it because of male factor infertility, it might be a different grief process and might be a harder selection choice than if you're picking someone where you're not trying to replace their genetics. So all of those are kind of sort of change the way you might be looking for what you're looking for, I guess.
Yes. That's very true.
There have been a couple of questions that have come in. So we've answered that one. If I order straws, how soon can these be in Holland? Is there a big sending once in a while, or do you send them individually?
In Holland? Yeah, it depends on the clinic. When we send straws within Europe, it takes 1 to 2 business days.
Okay.
So, but some clinics in Holland we send together. So they really have to call Cryos or email us, and we can get the information about where they're getting treatment. But right now, the important thing to remember is that we need we need you to contact the clinic first before we send everything because of Corona. So you need to make sure that they are open and able to receive the order. We haven't experienced any delays with the freight. Everything seems to be smooth, but it is very important that the clinic is open and able to receive. So that's part of the responsibility that you have when you place the order.
Okay.
Because we are in contact with all the clinics, but things are changing rapidly, and yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, just talking about process. When somebody has selected their donor, what happens next?
They can place an order
On the website.
On the website.
Yeah.
That's for if you want it to be shipped within the next 3 to 4 weeks, you can place an order directly. Mm-hmm. If you think it's going to be in the next after 4 weeks or more, you can place a reservation. And at the time that you're ready to ship it, you log into the website and you click on ship. You select the straws that you want shipped, and you indicate which clinic they're going to. And then we receive the orders and we look that everything's fine and it matches the legislative requirements and all of that. And we will contact the clinic and make sure that they are ready to receive it. For the UK. Other countries, we don't need to have that pre-approval from the clinic, and we just ship it, and it takes 1 to 2 business days. And we have different shipping methods, which is also important to mention. Most clinics in the UK prefer shipment in a nitrogen tank. So that's something also something to remember. Mm-hmm. But we can also ship in dry ice, which is cheaper to a lot of places. But in the UK, I would say 80% of the clinics prefer the nitrogen tanks. Okay. So, and we know which ones, so you can always ask us if they don't tell you.
That's really good to know. Esther has also asked, what's the advice to reserve if they want more children in the future? As you said, you recommend doing that when you place the order for the first round.
So we don't know what treatment or what your situation is, Esther.
I think
yes. But once you have that interview or conversation with your clinic, they will probably tell you how many straws you need shipped the first time around. Maybe they're thinking of 3 treatments to start with, or something like that. Maybe they are just talking about a single treatment and seeing. So we recommend that you think anywhere from 3 to 6, but it's really hard to say without knowing what the specific situation is. Yeah. But 3 to 6 straws, and then you can always terminate the reservation, and we'll buy them at 75% of the price, like I said before. Really that covers the price of the sperm, not the reservation period. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so basically, people should check in with their clinic because it depends on their tailored or personalized treatment plan.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, a healthy woman in the early 30s maybe has an easier time getting pregnant than someone in their 40s who have already had unsuccessful IVFs or something like that. So yeah, it's hard for us to know how many tries you're going to need. Also, nobody knows. So you can start with 3 and then seeing how it goes. What I don't want to encourage people is to look at how many straws the donor has, because if they have a lot of straws, then I can relax. Some donors are very popular and they go fast. And we, as I said, we sell to more than 100 countries. Mm-hmm. So if you really like a donor, secure the straws that you think you might be needing. So.
And does it tell you how many straws each donor has on the website?
Yeah, you can see all of the stock that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, another question. Is a higher MOT more successful?
A higher MOT more successful? Well, the higher the number of active sperm cells, you could say that, yeah, maybe more chances, but you only need one.
Yeah,
So,
and there's a lot in each straw.
yeah. So it really also depends how the clinic handles the straws and if they're going to do a preparation or not. When they and the type of treatment that you're gonna get for ICSI, they get the best ones and they match them.
Yeah.
So no, it's really hard to answer that question. It really, there's so many factors involved, but you get more, that's for sure. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Someone has asked, if I know which donor I want, should I reserve it for when it's safe after COVID-19?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, as we were saying before, people may have joined. Now is actually quite a good time, isn't it, to be making those decisions, so that it can help the transition for when clinics reopen, to speed things along a bit.
Exactly. And if you already have the appointment when they reopen, and you convert that reservation to an order, the sooner we have the order in our hands, we can start sending the paperwork to the clinic so they can approve your donor and have everything ready for when you come in. So, it's always do things with time in this situation, because it's a very important decision, and we don't want anything to go wrong. So allow for time to plan and prepare.
And Esther has just asked about relying on staff opinions attached to the donors.
That's a very subjective measure, and the reason we have that is to give you a personal what a person might think of someone that met the donor. We haven't met the donors. The people, when you call us, we haven't met them. But the person who are writing those, they have had interviews with them and they have met them. So I think it gives another dimension to the extended profile description. Yeah, sometimes when you meet a person, you get a sense, and that's what we're trying to communicate. Yeah.
100%. It's been so clear, and I think I just want to add at that point that you've written for Fertility Help Hub 2 different articles. One about what people might want to consider, which we've touched on this evening, but there's a lot more to consider when selecting a donor, and these are things that I was faced with when my husband and I were picking a donor. So really insightful article. Go onto the website and read that. And the other one is which you touched upon as well, how you select your donors, and the stringent measures that are in place. The fact it's not just anyone walking off the street. And as you said, 5% shows the vigorous checks that you do, which is obviously very reassuring when you're in that situation of picking a donor and making an informed decision.
Yes, I think it's it gives you the feeling of having that safety behind our donors, and I can't. They give so much. They invest so much in becoming donors. And really they are giving a gift, so we're very grateful for them.
Well, donor conception has changed our lives.
Yes.
And I'm fascinated by what you said about half of them. I think you said 50% give blood. So
yes,
it really shows the type of people, the type of men they are.
Yes. Yeah. It's very telling, isn't it?
100%.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. I think that's it for the questions. Go check out the articles, and also go to your Facebook group for support, and anything else that you want help with, either go through Fertility Help Hub or go directly to Mila at Cyros International, and she'll be able to answer your questions.
Yes.
Great.
We're happy to have
Thanks
them.
everyone this evening. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.